Rennie was charming, he was intelligent, he was charismatic, he had lots of energy, and he had friends around the world. I loved him for how gentle he was, for how much he cared so much about the world. He was famous for his work opposing the American war against Vietnam, and his bravery and his passion around that war, and it was huge, and it made a big difference in bringing that war to an end. And then, of course, the trial of the century, the Chicago demonstrations from the 1968 convention. He was famous for that work. He was famous as a Chicago 7. And that trial, of course, was all about emphasizing how distraught America was about the war, the morality of the war. And it really, those demonstrations, I believe, exemplified the best of a very passionate, caring generation. It was clearly a major life experience for Rennie as well as for the rest of the family. He spent his life as an activist, as an idealist, as a change agent. But his life was very full and bigger than that. And what I'd like to do is share a little bit of his early years and who he was and what mattered to him. So hopefully I'll draw a deeper, broader picture and give you a sense of his childhood. I'll start at the beginning. He was born in 1940 in East Lansing, Michigan. He was the second son of Dorothy R. Davis and John C. Davis. Dorothy R., my mother, was just one of the kindest, most beautiful human beings I've ever known. She was the epitome of unconditional love. She was mostly a full-time mother, but she also was a teacher. Dad was started out as a professor of economics at Michigan State, and then was called to work on the War Manpower Commission in Washington, D.C., so he moved the family to Kensington, Maryland. And a few years after that, we moved to this beautiful 500-acre farm outside Berryville, Virginia. The farm just defined our lives as children. Rennie was in the 7th grade when we moved to the farm. Dad was working on Truman's first Council of Economic Advisors, and then he worked at a highly secret government installation 7 miles from our house on the farm called Mount Weather. But growing up in Berryville, growing up on this farm was just an amazing childhood. We got to swim, we got to hike, we were surrounded with animals. We had horses and cows and pigs and goats and and 6,000 chickens. We were in the Blue Ridge Mountains very close to the Shenandoah River, and it was beautiful, and it was just a great place to grow up as a child. Rennie had lots of farm chores as a kid. He had milking cows and cutting fields, and we had a 1-acre garden, a vegetable garden we all helped with. He also really loved basketball. He liked to do things like make a 7-minute icing for chocolate cakes that we all enjoyed. And in high school, he was the editor of the school paper. He was the president of the student body. He was class salutatorian. So he studied hard, he worked hard, he played hard, but he was definitely a full-fledged American farm kid, and he also really loved music. He was a very gifted musician. He played banjo. He loved Appalachian bluegrass. We used to go to Watermelon Park, saw Johnny Cash there. He also played piano. We got to hang out around the piano while Rennie could play anything that anybody could sing to him. He could immediately play, so we would sing songs around the piano as a family. And after high school, he went to Oberlin College, and I think there his commitment to broader world concerns solidified. His life was about promoting peace. It was about attacking poverty. It was about trying to deal with injustice anywhere it was. He was a very strong advocate and organizer during the civil rights movement. He just really always had a passion for making the world a better place, and that defined who he was. He was highly, highly motivated. He grew up in a family of people all concerned about big picture issues and making the world better. And that's really what defined him. It's what gave him meaning. He had incredibly deep ideals and very, very large passion. He was often called the boy next door, which I think was a lot about just that wholesomeness and that intrinsically gentle nature that he had. And he was just grounded, and he was warm, and he was always positive, and I know that all of us who knew him will miss him greatly.